God's plan over your life is not accidental, and it is not fragile. It is sovereign, intentional, and far-reaching, extending beyond anything your mind can conceive. Even when you stumble, even when you make mistakes that seem irreversible, His hand remains firmly over you. Every moment of your life, every circumstance, every encounter is under the watchful eyes of a loving God who orchestrates all things for your good. The errors of your past do not erase His purpose for your future, because the one who calls you is greater than the forces that try to define you. No failure, no sin, no regret has the power to outmatch His plan. You may look at your life and see detours, but what God sees is preparation. What appears to be a setback is, in His wisdom, a setup for blessing. Each misstep is an instrument in His hands, shaping your character, building your faith, and teaching you lessons that no success could ever teach. You are not defined by the times you fell. You are defined by the one who holds you upright. Your mistakes are not roadblocks. They are markers of a journey that God is guiding with precision. Even when the world condemns you, even when your own heart whispers doubt, God's oversight is perfect, unshakable, and relentless in pursuing your destiny. He can turn every failure into a testimony, every regret into a source of wisdom, and every wrong choice into a stepping stone toward fulfillment. When you grasp this truth, you begin to walk with confidence because you know that no matter what has happened, you are never outside the boundaries of His plan. Nothing you have done, nothing you will do, can surprise Him or derail His purpose. His oversight is not passive, it is active, involved, and intimate. Your life is under a divine orchestration far greater than your mistakes, and the path He has laid before you is filled with opportunities to rise, to grow, and to fulfill the destiny He has designed from eternity past. Every mistake you have ever made carries a hidden purpose. What the world sees as failure, God sees as preparation. Each misstep, each wrong decision, each moment when you fell short is not the end of your story. It is a step in the journey He is guiding you through. These mistakes are not punishments, they are instruments in God's hands, designed to refine your character, strengthen your spirit, and deepen your faith. The challenges that come from errors are not meant to break you, they are meant to mold you into someone capable of walking in the fullness of your destiny. When you stumble, you are given the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to rise stronger than before. Every misstep reveals a lesson that success alone could never teach. God does not waste a single moment of your life. Even the moments of shame, regret, and despair are being transformed into stepping stones, tools that will elevate you higher than you could have imagined if your path had always been smooth. The power lies not in avoiding mistakes, but in how you respond to them. When you choose to see your errors through the lens of faith, when you allow God to use them as building blocks, you begin to experience a transformation. What once felt like a setback becomes a springboard, launching you into your purpose with greater clarity, wisdom, and strength. These stepping stones teach resilience, patience, and dependence on God. They remind you that your journey is not about perfection, but about progress under divine guidance. Each mistake carries a message, a lesson, and a preparation for greater things. Do not despise the lessons hidden in failure. Embrace them. Walk forward with confidence, knowing that God can turn every misstep into a foundation for triumph. Your mistakes do not define your destiny. They are the very pathways God uses to bring you closer to it, shaping you into a vessel capable of holding the fullness of His promises and walking in the abundant life He has prepared for you. Your value is not determined by your mistakes, your failures, or the times you have fallen. There is a tendency in the human heart to let errors define identity, to believe that a single wrong choice can erase worth or disqualify purpose. But God's truth is different. Your worth is anchored in who you are as His creation, in the divine image that He has placed within you. Mistakes may stain your record, but they cannot touch your identity unless you allow them to. Every sin, every failure, every regret is separate from the essence of who you are in God's eyes. You may have stumbled, you may have chosen poorly, yet the love of God for you remains unwavering. This is why it is essential to spiritually detach your self-worth from your errors. Shame and guilt can paralyze, but when you recognize that your identity is secure in God's hands, you gain freedom. The past loses its power to hold you hostage. When you separate your intrinsic value from your missteps, you begin to walk with confidence, boldness, and purpose. You no longer define yourself by what you did, you define yourself by what God has called you to be. Every mistake becomes a lesson, a correction, but not a judgment on your worth. The world may speak condemnation, and your own conscience may echo it, yet the voice of God declares, "You're loved, chosen, and equipped for greatness." This understanding brings inner strength. It allows you to move past regret without being burdened, to pursue your calling without fear, and to embrace every opportunity without hesitation. Remember, your mistakes do not dictate your destiny. They may teach, refine, and redirect, but they do not determine the value of your life. You are not your failures. You are a child of God, capable of rising above every sin, every error, and every regret. When you internalize this truth, you experience a freedom that empowers action, inspires courage, and opens the door for God to manifest His plan in ways far beyond your imagination. True inner strength begins when you learn to detach, not from life, not from purpose, but from the emotional chains of your past. Spiritual detachment is the ability to rise above regret, guilt, and self-condemnation, to refuse allowing mistakes to dictate your present or control your future. It does not mean ignoring responsibility or pretending your errors never happened. It means surrendering the hold that those mistakes have over your heart and mind, allowing God to take full control of your story. When you detach spiritually, you begin to see life through God's perspective rather than the lens of fear, shame, or limitation. Detachment frees you to act boldly, to pursue your calling with clarity, and to walk in confidence, knowing that your past does not define your destiny. It is a form of spiritual strength that allows you to respond to challenges with calmness rather than panic, with faith rather than anxiety, and with purpose rather than hesitation. The one who is truly detached from the emotional weight of failure is unshakable, because their identity is anchored in God, not in circumstances or in what others think. Spiritual detachment does not distance you from God, it draws you closer, because it requires trusting Him fully with all aspects of your life, past, present, and future. It allows you to recognize that everything that has happened, even the moments of failure, can be used for your growth and advancement. You no longer cling to the comfort of excuses or the paralysis of regret. Instead, you walk freely, empowered by the knowledge that God can turn every mistake into a lesson, every setback into a setup, and every loss into a victory. Detachment is not weakness, it is divine strength. It is the confidence of one who knows that nothing in the past can stop the purposes of God, that your mistakes are not chains but stepping stones, and that your life is under the guidance of a loving God whose plan is greater than anything you have ever faced. When you practice spiritual detachment, you release fear, embrace faith, and align yourself fully with the destiny God has prepared for you. God is the master of redemption and the restorer of all that has been broken. No matter how far you have fallen, no matter the depth of your mistakes, He specializes in taking what is lost, wound, dead, or shattered and transforming it into something beautiful. Redemption is not just a one-time act. It is an ongoing process in the life of anyone who trusts Him. Every failure, every regret, and every misstep is an opportunity for God to demonstrate His power to restore. Restoration begins the moment you surrender your past into His hands, allowing Him to rewrite your story with grace and purpose. The scars of your mistakes are not meant to be sources of shame, but reminders of His faithfulness. God does not discard what is broken. He repairs it, refines it, and uses it to bless others. Every area of your life that seems irreparable, relationships that have failed, dreams that have been delayed, opportunities that were lost, can be restored beyond what you can imagine when you place them in His care. Redemption turns guilt into wisdom, pain into testimony, and loss into provision. It reminds you that your past does not have to define your future. The mistakes you carry do not have to weigh you down. Instead, they can become platforms for victory, places where God's glory shines through. Restoration requires faith, a belief that God's power is greater than your failure, that His plan is larger than your regret, and that His love is deeper than any sin or error. When you embrace this truth, you no longer live in fear of the past. You walk forward with confidence, knowing that every broken piece of your life can be remade, renewed, and restored according to His divine plan. God's redemption is not limited by the magnitude of your mistakes. It is limitless, unstoppable, and all-encompassing. He is in the business of transforming lives, and no one who comes to Him with a sincere heart is beyond the reach of His restorative power. Trust Him, yield to Him, and watch as your failures are turned into testimonies and your past into a pathway to glory. Faith is the bridge that carries you over the chasm of fear. Fear wants to paralyze you, to convince you that your mistakes are permanent, that your failures are insurmountable, and that your past defines your future. But faith sees beyond what the eyes can see. Faith hears the whisper of God's promises louder than the roar of doubt. Faith allows you to rise when fear says you will fall, to move forward when fear says to retreat, and to act boldly when fear screams to stay silent. Every time fear tries to grip your heart, remember that God's plan is bigger than any mistake, bigger than any failure, and stronger than any limitation. Fear focuses on what has gone wrong. Faith focuses on what God is doing. Faith does not ignore reality, but it trusts in the one who governs reality. It is the confident assurance that even when storms rage, even when doors close, and even when life seems uncertain, God is still at orchestrating all things for your good. Walking in faith over fear requires courage. Courage to believe that your mistakes do not disqualify you, that your past is not your prison, and that your failures are not final. Fear wants you to dwell in shame. Faith lifts you into hope. Fear whispers, you cannot recover. Faith declares, God is making all things new. Faith is not passive, it is action. It moves, it prays, it believes, and it perseveres, even when circumstances seem impossible. When you choose faith over fear, you step into the freedom of knowing that no mistake, no setback, no human judgment, and no circumstance can derail the plan God has for you. Faith replaces doubt with trust, worry with peace, and hesitation with purpose. It is the power that transforms failures into victories, mistakes into lessons, and trials into testimonies. When fear comes knocking, answer with faith, and watch God's plan unfold in ways that surpass every limitation, every regret, and every obstacle that once seemed impossible to overcome. Every failure carries a hidden message, a divine lesson carefully woven into the fabric of your experience. When you stumble, when your plans collapse, or when your mistakes feel overwhelming, it is easy to see only defeat. But God never wastes a single moment of your life. Behind every failure lies an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to draw close to the destiny He has prepared for you. The lessons in failure are not always comfortable. They may reveal weaknesses you never knew existed, areas where your faith is still small, or attitudes that need refinement. Yet these very revelations are gifts, because they guide you toward greater wisdom, humility, and understanding. The pain of failure is temporary, but the lessons it imparts are eternal. It teaches patience when you want instant results, perseverance when you want to quit, and discernment when choices seem unclear. It teaches you to rely not on your own strength, but on God's guidance, to trust in His timing rather than your own plans. Every failure is a teacher, pointing you to the strategies, the mindset, and the faith you will need to succeed. Those who ignore these lessons often repeat the same mistakes, but those who embrace them move forward with clarity and purpose. Failure is not punishment, it is preparation. It shows you where to improve, where to adjust, and where to grow. It strips away pride, arrogance, and self-reliance, leaving space for God's power to work in and through you. When you start seeing failures as lessons rather than defeats, your perspective changes. You no longer fear mistakes, and you no longer allow them to define you. Instead, you allow them to refine you, to shape your character, and to deepen your trust in God. Every failure becomes a stepping stone, a guidepost, and a source of strength for the journey ahead. Your mistakes are not roadblocks. They are signals from God, teaching you, equipping you, and preparing you to walk boldly into the destiny that awaits you, confident that no lesson is wasted under His sovereign hand. God's timing is perfect, even when ours feels hurried, delayed, or uncertain. We often look at our lives and wonder why doors are closed, why opportunities have not yet arrived, or why past mistakes seem to hold us back. Yet every moment is orchestrated by a God who sees the end from the beginning, who knows the seasons, and who positions every step for maximum impact. Divine timing means that what is meant for you will not arrive too soon or too late. It will come exactly when God intends, in alignment with His greater purpose for your life. A delay is not denial. A pause is not punishment. It is preparation. While you wait, God is shaping circumstances, refining your character, and opening doors that no human eye could see. Your past mistakes may feel like setbacks, but they are part of His timing, positioning you precisely where you need to be for the next step of your journey. Impatience will only cloud your vision and lead to frustration. But faith in divine timing brings peace, confidence, and clarity. Trusting in God's schedule allows you to walk boldly in the present, knowing that what is meant for you will come at the perfect moment. Divine timing also teaches patience, endurance, and reliance on God rather than on your own understanding. It reminds you that even when life seems chaotic, nothing happens outside of God's sovereign plan. The right opportunities, the right people, and the right breakthroughs will align in His perfect moment. This understanding frees you from fear of the future and regret of the past. You no longer rush decisions or dwell on missed chances because you know that God's plan is unfolding exactly as it should. Every delay, every obstacle, and every misstep is being transformed into a stepping stone toward your destiny. When you walk in harmony with God's timing, you move with confidence, purpose, and peace, knowing that nothing, no mistake, no failure, no limitation can derail the fulfillment of His promises in your life. Divine timing ensures that every blessing arrives at its appointed hour, fully prepared to bring maximum impact, honor, and glory. Your life's purpose is far greater than the mistakes you have made or the failures you carry. When you dwell on condemnation, whether it comes from others, from society, or from your own conscience, you allow your past to define your present and dictate your future. But God calls you to something higher, something eternal, something that cannot be limited by shame or regret. Focusing on your calling means fixing your eyes on the mission God has placed within your heart, the unique purpose only you can fulfill. Every trial, every mistake, every misstep is a chapter in your preparation, not your disqualification. The voice of condemnation seeks to paralyze, to keep you small, and to convince you that you are unworthy. Yet the voice of God calls you forward, whispers courage into your spirit, and reminds you that your destiny cannot be thwarted by error. When you align with your calling, you step into a life of significance that transcends your failures. You begin to see that mistakes are not chains but lessons, not endings but openings, and not punishments but stepping stones toward fulfillment. Focusing on your calling requires detachment from guilt and liberation from regret. It is the courage to move forward, even when the past seems heavy, the strength to pursue purpose, even when fear whispers, "You cannot," and the wisdom to use every experience, good or bad, to equip you for God's plan. Condemnation binds, calling liberates. Condemnation limits, calling empowers. Condemnation highlights failures, calling illuminates potential. Your mistakes may have shaped your story, but they do not write it. God has written a plan that is greater than any misstep, larger than any failure, and more powerful than any judgment. When you focus on your calling, your energy, your faith, and your vision shift from regret to purpose. You begin to walk with confidence, passion, and unwavering determination, knowing that God has designed you to fulfill a destiny that transcends every error and outshines every limitation. Your calling is your compass. Condemnation is merely a distraction. Peace comes not from control, not from perfection, and not from trying to fix everything on your own. True peace is found in surrender. Complete, unwavering, and holy surrender to the will of God. When you surrender your past, including your mistakes, failures, and regrets, you release the weight that has burdened your heart and mind. You stop trying to justify, compensate, or hide what has gone wrong, and you place it fully in the hands of the one who sees all, knows all, and works all things together for good. Surrender is not weakness. It is the highest expression of strength. It is the courage to let go of pride, control, and self-reliance, and to trust that God's plan is far greater than anything you could imagine or orchestrate yourself. When you surrender, you begin to experience a peace that surpasses understanding, a calm in the midst of chaos, and a certainty that no mistake can derail the destiny God has ordained for you. Every regret, every failure, and every misstep becomes part of the tapestry God is weaving in your life. Surrender allows God to take your brokenness and transform it into beauty, your guilt into wisdom, your shame into testimony, and your fear into faith. You are freed from the burden of carrying what never belonged to you to carry alone. The moment you let go and allow God to take full control, the anxiety of the past loses its grip, and the uncertainty of the future becomes a place of trust and expectation. Peace through surrender is not passive acceptance of circumstance. It is active trust in the one who holds all things. It is knowing that even when the path seems unclear, the outcome is secure because God is guiding every step. Surrender aligns your heart with His will, your mind with His promises, and your life with His purpose. It allows you to walk confidently, boldly, and joyfully, knowing that nothing, no mistake, no failure, no limitation can prevent God from accomplishing what He has destined for your life. In surrender, you find freedom. In surrender, you find strength. In surrender, you find the peace that the world cannot give, but that only God can pour into your soul. Remember this: your past does not define you. Your mistakes do not limit you, and your failures do not disqualify you. Every step you have taken, every stumble, every misstep, has been part of God's divine orchestration, shaping you, refining you, and preparing you for the purpose only He has designed for your life. Do not live under the weight of regret or fear, for God's plan is far bigger than anything you have done, or anything you could imagine. Stand boldly, walk confidently, and embrace your calling with faith that rises above failure. Let go of shame, detach from condemnation, and surrender fully to His will. For in surrender there is freedom, in faith there is power, and in God's plan there is destiny. Your mistakes are stepping stones, your failures are lessons, and your past is merely preparation for the glory that lies ahead. Today, choose to rise above the limitations of yesterday, to live with purpose, and to trust without hesitation that God is turning every setback into a setup for victory. The life you are meant to live, the destiny you are called to fulfill, is waiting for you. Step forward boldly, for nothing can stop God's plan, and nothing is greater than His power to redeem, restore, and elevate you to heights you never dreamed possible.